in internet traffic across the mainland, Taiwan and Hong Kong as the celebrity sex photos spread like wildfire. It all began last year when Infernal Affairs star Edison Chen left his laptop computer at a repair shop. Then, late last month, explicit sex photos of Chen and several of Hong Kong's top actresses and singers started surfacing on the internet. Authorities say the images were illegally copied from Chen's computer by repair technicians. Chen was later forced to issue this internet apology, which many did not see as much of an apology at all.
The lives of many innocent people have been affected by this malicious and criminal conduct, and in this regard, I am filled with pain, hurt, and frustration. I hereby use this opportunity to apologize to anyone who has been affected by this strange ordeal.
Twin star Julian Chung, who was said to be one of the women shown in bed with Chen, has so far been the only one to address the scandal. In a meeting with her fans and the media, Chung did not confirm if it was really her in the photos, but admitted to having been naive and silly and apologised for the scandal. Unlike in the West, being implicated in a sex scandal can ruin an actress or singer's career in Hong Kong and on the mainland, where starlets are carefully marketed to have innocent, clean-cut images. Local police have made several arrests linked to the case, but have faced criticism that they've been overzealous and heavy-handed because it involves celebrities. A charge against 29-year-old Chung Yik-tin, the first person arrested in connection with distributing the photos, was abruptly dropped after he spent more than 2 weeks in prison. Authorities released him after the Obscene Articles Tribunal reclassified the photograph he was accused of publishing as indecent, which is a lesser offence. All this has sparked a highly charged debate about what is and is not obscene or indecent, and the government is under pressure to urgently review the current law that tackles obscenity. And Leslie Tang joins us now for more on this story. Now, Leslie, many had been saying for quite some time that Edison Chen was finished in this town because he has tarnished the images and possibly even ruined the private lives of some of our most popular young female entertainers with these pornographic pictures.
That's right, Anne. So we don't really know if his departure from showbiz was voluntary, but he has upset some pretty powerful people in the industry who promote these starlets as squeaky clean teen idols. And in a town that's pretty prudish about sex, let's face it, that could mean everything in someone's career. That's all from me here. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, thanks very much, Leslie. Turning to other news, a veteran Hong Kong journalist Ching Chung has spoken about his imprisonment on the mainland on spying charges for the first time since he was released on parole earlier this month.
Ching today denied he was a spy for Taiwan and insisted he has never done anything to harm national security. ATV's Belinda Lloyd reports.
More than 2 weeks after his surprise homecoming, Ching Chung was finally ready to face the public today with his family by his side. Looking much thinner than before, Ching said he felt great to be free again and thanked everyone who fought for his early release. Ching was detained in April 2005 for spying for Taiwan and was found guilty of the charge in August 2006. But he didn't seem quite willing to talk in detail about how he was treated behind bars.
In fact, I'm well treated compared to other people. I'm well treated in the prison.
How?
Well, let's have another occasion for this.
He also didn't want to discuss his admission in the Singapore Straits Times newspaper that he had contemplated suicide during the darkest days of his detention when he lost hope. But he was keen to set the record straight on the espionage charges. Protesting his innocence, Ching insisted he was never a spy and had never come across any state secrets, let alone pass them on to Taiwan. He also stressed he didn't do anything to endanger national security and insisted he was a patriot despite what he had to go through. Ching's release comes just 6 months before the Beijing Olympics kick off, and he's hoping other journalists and dissidents will be released too.
I cannot say for sure whether my release has anything to do with these Olympics, but I'm sure in China, someone is also advocating a more lenient policy, greater leniency in China.
Cheng Chung spent more than 1,000 days in jail on spying charges, and you would think that an ordeal like this would make him think twice about working as a journalist in China again. But he is keen to go back to his day job, and he even plans to write a book on serving time in prison. Belinda Lloyd, ATV News.
The US has blown up a spy satellite carrying toxic fuel that went haywire shortly after it was launched just over a year ago.
The Bush administration says people's lives would have been in danger if the satellite had crashed to Earth. But both Russia and China suspect more sinister motives. ATV's Ben O'Rourke reports.
The US-193 spy satellite was launched in December 2006 and went out of control shortly afterwards. Last week, US President George Bush gave the green light for it to be shot down using a missile fired from a ship in waters off Hawaii. About the size of a small bus, it would have re-entered Earth's atmosphere early next month and could have caused plenty of damage and even death had it landed in a populated area. Not only that, it also contained 450 kilos of toxic rocket fuel, so Bush said they had better shoot it down from its orbit, 240 kilometers above Earth, just in case. An SM-3 missile was launched at 11:26 a.m. Hong Kong time and hit the satellite about 3 minutes later as it orbited Earth at more than 27,000 kilometers per hour. Most of the debris will burn up in the atmosphere in the next 48 hours and the rest over the next 40 days. US officials have described the operation as extremely ambitious, although it's almost identical to what China did last January without so much publicity. Russia has expressed concern about the US operation, saying it could be a front for testing a new space weapon, and Beijing's Communist Party newspaper Today accused the US of hypocrisy, since Washington was so quick to criticize China's launch last year. Not only that, earlier this month, the Bush administration rejected a joint proposal by China and Russia for restrictions on space armaments. Some space experts have also questioned the Pentagon's justification for the mission, saying the chances of any part of the satellite causing harm were extremely remote. Nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction are banned from space under a 1967 international treaty, but Washington's moves have caused concerns about non-nuclear arms in space. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
Still to come on ATV's Main News tonight, Beijing's top religious affairs official says Vatican willing to cut ties with Taiwan, but no Pope visit to China.
And aging boy band shows it still has what it takes at Brit Awards.
All wizardry things must come to an end.
I think it's definitely time to stop now.
Before moving on, an intimate journey into the personal world of the woman behind the magic. J.K. Rowling, A Year in the Life, tonight at 8 on ATV World.
The commercial space race is on. H2A space rocket underpins Japan's hopes of joining the premier satellite launch providers. But is it ready to take on the world? Man-made marvels. Friday night at 9 on ATV World. They are not here to fight, but to avoid conflict. Inside Iraq's kill zone, the civilian contractors know that their next mission could always be their last. National Geographic, Saturday night at 10 past 10 on ATV World. The Candlestick Park in San Francisco was the end of the world. At the height of their popularity, the Fab Four, without warning, pulled the plug. They would never tour again. The inside story of their last ever live concert, The Unseen Beatles, Monday night at 9 on ATV World. Why wait for the next enrollment when the world is your classroom? Discover the convenience of distance, maximise the choice and flexibility in study pathways by leveraging the power and accessibility of distance education on the Open University of Hong Kong Special, Open for Learning. Sunday morning at 10 on World. The Open University Hong Kong Special, Open for Learning, is presented by the Open University of Hong Kong.
Welcome back. The controversy surrounding the government's decision to drop a university degree requirement for the next head of public broadcaster RTHK deepened today as talk show host Robert Chow confirmed he has been approached about the job.
Chow does not have a degree, which intensifies speculation that the government is tailor-making the changes for someone it wants to fill the post. Leslie Tang reports.
For a change, RTHK talk show host and former Hong Kong Standard editor-in-chief Robert Chow was the story, not the storyteller today. Since the government lowered the educational requirements for the new head of RTHK, there has been speculation that the move was tailor-made for Chow, who does not have a university degree. Chow confirmed that he had been approached by a headhunter about the position, but he had not applied for the job yet. After spending 4 months trying to find a suitable person to fill the job of Director of Broadcasting, the government decided the right candidate only needs to have a Form 7 education as long as he or she has at least 15 years' experience in the broadcasting or media field. In contrast, an entry-level reporter at RTHK with an assistant producer's rank needs to have a university degree or an equivalent qualification. The top broadcasting post has been vacant since last July, when former chief Chu Pui-hing resigned after he was caught up in a scandal after being photographed hiding behind a karaoke hostess. Lawmakers and RTHK's staff union have slammed the government's decision to lower the requirements, as there were at least 20 qualified applicants in the first round of recruitment. A government spokesperson said the recruitment agency hired advised the change, as candidates with the relevant experience were hired during the 1990s, when media degrees were not common. Leslie Tang, ATV News.
Beijing's top official on religious affairs claims the Vatican is prepared to cut ties with Taiwan to improve strained relations with the mainland.
But he dismissed rumors of a visit to Beijing by the Pope, insisting that would be impossible before diplomatic relations are normalized. The central government has dispatched its top official in charge of religious affairs to Washington to calm American fears of religious intolerance in China ahead of the Beijing Olympics. Ye Xiaowen's charm offensive included meetings with US officials and a speech at a Roman Catholic institution, Georgetown University. Ye claimed the Vatican was willing to cut all ties with Taiwan to forge long-suspended diplomatic ties with Beijing, but placed the ball in Rome's court, insisting the Holy See had to make concessions to improve relations. First, the Pope must recognize that the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole representative government of both Chinas, and that Taiwan is an inalienable part of Chinese territory, Ye said. The religious affairs minister also dismissed rumors that Pope Benedict could visit China, after reports surfaced that officials from both sides were discussing a possible landmark trip as Beijing prepares to host the Olympics. The head of the mainland state-sanctioned Catholic Church on the mainland, Liu Baiyan, has said several times that he would like to welcome the Pope to China once an agreement has been reached. But Ye made clear a papal visit was not possible before relations between Beijing and Rome were normalized. In order to do this, Beijing has imposed two strict conditions. First, Rome has to recognize the One China policy, and second, the Holy See has to accept that religious affairs are an internal Chinese matter. The US aviation authorities are investigating whether two pilots flying a budget airline plane fell asleep during a routine 30-minute flight in Hawaii.
The pilots overshot the runway by 25 kilometers, and aviation safety experts say this kind of thing happens a lot more often than people think.
Passengers on Go Airlines Flight 1002 took off on time last Wednesday morning, expecting a short flight, but they got more than they paid for.
When I noticed that we weren't descending, I told my wife, she was sitting to my left. I mentioned to her, I think something's kind of weird in this flight pattern.
Weird because the pilots on the flight from Honolulu, which normally takes 30 minutes to reach Hilo, overshot their landing by 15 miles before finally turning around. Air traffic controllers had tried to reach them for 25 minutes, but heard nothing back.
We're investigating whether the pilot and co-pilot of an inter-island Go Airlines flight fell asleep while the plane was in the air between Honolulu and Hilo.
Barry Schiff is an airline safety expert who says pilot fatigue is a bigger problem than the flying public knows.
I don't think the public has any idea how tired these pilots are. But of course they get a cheap ticket, don't they?
Anytime you hear a pilot going to sleep on a flight, it always makes, especially the flight you're on, it makes you real nervous.
Mesa Airlines, which runs Go Airlines, said in a statement today that they are cooperating with the FAA and have no further comment. Mesa Air pilots have complained in the past of tight schedules and staffing shortages. The FAA now plans to interview the pilots on this flight to find out exactly what went wrong. Ben Tracy, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Time now for sports with someone who's wide awake, Hailing Chen.
And you're teeing off with golf tonight, Hailing, right?
That's right, Anne, and the world's top player has made an incredible comeback. Tiger Woods turned an almost definite defeat into an unlikely victory at the Accenture Match Play Championship. Woods is bidding for his 6th title in a row and had been struggling for most of the first round. It was an unlikely struggle for the world's top player. Tiger Woods was well behind on the first few holes in the opening round at the Accenture Match Play Championship in the U.S. state of Arizona. But he made an astounding recovery when he played the final 5 holes to take him 5 under par and escape with a 1-up lead over J.B. Holmes, who missed a birdie putt on the 18th. World number 2 Phil Mickelson also struggled at first. He held off fellow American Pat Perez at the last minute to tie on the final hole. Reigning U.S. Open champion Angel Cabrera performed impressively and won 3-2 against Denmark's Anders Hansen. Colin Montgomery also beat his opponent, American Jim Furyk, 3-2. World number 4 Ernie Els was a huge disappointment. He lost 6-5 to American Jonathan Bird, making it the 4th time in a row Els had left a tournament after the first round. The event's defending champ Henrik Stenson had a shaky finish to his match against Australia's Robert Allenby, putting at the 18th green to clinch his match play round by a single stroke. In football, Manchester United held Lyon to a draw last night in the first knockout round of the Champions League. The game between Arsenal and AC Milan also ended up with no winners. The match between AC Milan and Arsenal ended up in disappointment last night after a 0-0 draw.
It's a shame that a game like that doesn't get a goal, because on a night where everything goes for you, I think we finished with 2-3.
Arsenal's now gearing up for a rematch.
That's why we go there, to fight for our place in quarter-final, and I'm sure we can do it, but we will have to fight very, very hard.
The Italian side is just as determined.
You usually don't have problem when we play home, when we play Milan. It's a good result, not very good, but good enough to have the chance to go through.
Lyon drew 1-1 with Manchester United last night in a hard-fought game.
Well, I think that it was a setback to lose a goal, because at that moment in the game we were in control, and a fantastic goal gave them the energy to make it difficult for us in terms of defending.
Also last night, Celtic were defeated by Barcelona 2-3 and Fenerbahce beat Sevilla 3-2. The Asian Five Nations will be launched this spring when the top teams from the region fight for a chance to play at the Rugby World Cup. The Asian Rugby Football Union says the tournament was modeled after Europe's Six Nations Championship.
What we wanted was a tournament that achieved the same sort of goals but wasn't exclusive. So we ranked our teams into various divisions, but there is promotion, there is demotion. It's the winner of the Asian Five Nations in 2010 who will go to Rugby World Cup in 2011.
Okay. The tournament will be played over 5 weeks. The Asian sides are Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, the Arabian Gulf and Kazakhstan.
Our thanks to Hailing for the sports. Finally tonight, pop reigned supreme last night at the Brit Awards in London, where Kylie Minogue and ageing boy band Take That were some of the big winners.
Ageing boy band still has what it takes. And it was also a night for two stars to put their personal troubles behind them. Here's Ben O'Rourke.
It's the night British music stars come out to shine. This year's Brit Awards at London's Earls Court Arena. And if any of them were nervous, they certainly weren't showing it.
I'm not racked with nerves right now, but I will be before my performance and when nominations are done, because of course I haven't prepared any speech.
Ruby, 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 Ruby! First big prize was for Best British Live Act, for which a reformed Take That, minus Robbie Williams of course, the Arctic Monkeys and the Kaiser Chiefs were nominated.
A few years ago, if someone said we were in a category with Take That, for best something, it sounds ludicrous, but thinking about it, it puts a big smile on the face, because that means we're actually big hitters.
Take That!
Best British Male went to Mark Ronson, who's better known as a producer for people like Amy Winehouse, who took some time out of rehab to perform at the show. Best British Female went to Kate Nash, and International Female Artist
Kylie Minogue!
If being beaten earlier on by a veteran boy band was disheartening for the Arctic Monkeys, then there was some consolation when they were named Best British Group.
Thank you, everybody. We're the Arctic Monkeys.
And finally wrapping up the night was a special Lifetime Achievement Award for Paul McCartney.
I just think British music is the best.
It was no doubt some good news for the former Beatle, who has just been locked in a 6-day court battle with ex-wife Heather Mills, who is seeking a slice of his whopping $1.5 billion fortune. The event was hosted by veteran rocker Ozzy Osbourne and his family, who fluffed up a few times and had to deal with some inebriated presenters, but survived the ordeal. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
And that's our main news for Thursday night. I'll be back with an update in 1 hour. I'm Yondan Latu.
I'm Hailing Chen, and I'll be back in a moment with the weather.
And I'm Anne-Marie Sim. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Good night.
The heart surgery drug.
It's about 1,000 lives saved per month delay in taking that drug off the market.
1,000 lives per month.
Correct.
The happiest place on earth, and Gustavo the Great. On Signy Glass presents 60 Minutes, tonight at 9. Where the living is easy and the cooking is simple, set sail for an incredible journey with food at its heart. Rick Stein's Mediterranean Escapes, Sunday night at 8 on ATV World.
When family violence takes place in your neighborhood, don't be apathetic. Lend a helping hand.
The CSI team follows evidence. What happens